Okay, here's a quick demonstration of how to make, or one method of how to make a wedge for the Kell No. 3 Mark II honing guide. This is a beautifully made, very accurate tool. There's two locating pins here that the tool that's being honed registers against, so that gives you a reference for square, and then it's held in place with a little wedge that slides underneath the bar. Now, this chisel at that point directly under the bar is 5mm thick. The total gap between the plate and the bar is 11mm, so we need a wedge that bites at 6mm. Right, if we consider a wedge as being a rectangle with a triangle on top of it, we want it to bite on the bar at about 2/3 of the way up. So if we want 2mm there and 4mm there, that's 2/3 of the way up, so this is going to be 3mm and 4mm is 7. So we want a gauge line on the end of our piece of wood at 3mm and another one at 7mm. Pop a line in there at 3, just strengthen that up on another pass. And then another one at 7. And this one I'm going to run up the sides as well, just to give us a line to cut to. And that's it, that's the layout done. Now, you could use a plane and plane off the slanted surface, but the method I'm going to use today is with a chisel. Now, the first thing to do is take off the back corner, so you take off a triangular wedge here. Let me just show you that. The length of the wedge isn't really important as long as it's a reasonable length, and it doesn't sort of stick out and get in the way. That's something that you can just sort of do by eye, if you like, just by looking at it. Okay, so we're on our layout line at the bottom of that. I'll just colour that in so that you can see what's going on a little bit better. Oops. Right, this triangle is going to give us A, protection against blowing out when we reach the far edge of the cut, and B, it's going to give us a visual reference for the angle that we're cutting at. If I show you what I mean, I'm going to take quite a steep cut there, and as you can see, that's the exit of that cut is creating an angle like that. When the exit of that cut is parallel with the other surface of the timber, that means that we're on the correct plane to achieve the slope that we've set on this edge. Let's just try and get a little closer to that. There, so now we've got parallel. If we were going too far, it would slope this way. If we're too steep, it slopes that way. So you can see very accurately actually what's going on. The exit on this end needs to remain parallel with the end of the timber. So you can see in two planes what's going on in terms of the angle of the slope that you're creating. Okay, so I'm through at this end. That means I've reached, or almost reached, the layout line at that end. I need to take more of a cut on this right hand side to square that up, and then just very gently work my way in until I'm back to parallel exit again. I can see I've got a bump here because this bumps in, so we'll take that out. Almost back to parallel, and we'll just check that we're right on the gauge line on the end. There you go, you can see the bottom half of that cut is just showing up through there, which tells me we're right where we want it to be. And bingo, there's your slope. Okay, using the back of the chisel you can see where vertical is because the wood appears to continue straight on through the blade. We'll just press in and give that a little bonk. Another one just behind it. Again, no measuring, it's just all by eye. Okay, so now we've got two lines to saw down. We'll just take our time. Deepen that a little bit, and then we can go right through to cut off at the back. Good. Okay, we can take off a little bit on the handle for the wedge, if you like, for want of a better word, just to make that a bit more comfortable. You can get in there with a rasp and have a little play around and make this really beautiful and perfect, but really doesn't need to be that attractive. Just tilt that slightly forwards, give a bit more room for the fingertips to get in there. Okay, and now we can saw down to release the wedge. You can take as long as you like over this, it's really a sort of personal preference thing how much care and effort you want to put into it. This is a tip I picked up from Michael Huntley, using the crosscut side of the saw just to create a little indent to let the rip teeth get a grip on it. And there we go. Once that's done, the only surface that you've still got left to work on is the back of the wedge, and you can invert it and drop it into there, its own slot if you like, and just trim the top off of that. You can just plane up the back face like that, but the less work you have to do with a teeny tiny workpiece that's not attached to anything, the better really. Right, and that's it. So this should now provide us with a perfect fit for wedging in our chisel, which it does. It's as simple as that. You make sure the chisel's registered against the two pins, push the wedge home, job done.